Hi, I'm starting another YouTube. Sometimes it becomes addictive. There's a lot on my case that I've left out. I mostly left out the story of Ingrid Gustafuson, the judge that saved us. Okay, after I substituted Mary Jane Knisley out within the first 3 days, I went to the Self-Help Law Center and I said, I need to get a hearing right away because this Mary Jane Knisley was going to keep my daughter for 3 months, okay, before she was even going to give us a hearing. And she wanted to have this Erica Sears, who we never even met, do an incapacity report. And I pulled her up, and she's a sports medicine doctor. So, and this horrible Julia Howard, who is one of the monsters on the case, okay, broke into my house repeatedly for a period of 18 months when they were planning this thing and they were having secret meetings on how they were going to do this and how they were going to take us down financially. Okay, so I went and they told me I had 30 days to substitute the judge out. It was the law in Montana, no questions asked, and I had to pay $100. So I pawned a ring at a pawn shop, you know, and I got $100, and I went down there and I filled out the papers. They notarized it, and it was like the lottery. They pressed a button, and it said Ingrid Gustafuson. And I had asked for this other judge, and I'm so glad I didn't get him, because you're not allowed to ask for somebody. So anyway, I went home, and I decided to look up her picture. I never actually met her. And this beautiful blonde, blue-eyed blonde pops up. And it was like a breath of fresh air after seeing the picture of Mary Jane Knisley and actually seeing her in the court the next day, because I went down there to try to see her in chamber, and she called the police on me and tried to accuse me of stalking. Stalking after Holly stalked me for 18 months and broke into my house repeatedly, you know, when by law she should have seen me in court the next day because I'm family and I'm her mother. And it should have been addressed, but it wasn't, because she's a monster. I mean, they broke into my house like monsters in a fairy tale. I mean, it was just unbelievable. So I filed for an expedited hearing and asked for an attorney, and she waived the fees in the court case because they were trying to hit me hard where money was, and of course I wouldn't be able to file, you know, and pay the kind of money since they were stealing a third of our income. And she appointed me an attorney. So the attorney wants to wait for the hearing date, and I'm telling the attorney, we can't do that. You can't put Marion through that, you know. And because I have an attorney, they get a little nervous. So, you know, they're going to set up supervised visits, you know, and I have to go down to the office and meet this person that's going to supervise these visits. I mean, I have to have supervised visits with my daughter, who's lived with me for 29 years, that I raised from birth, that I've treated like gold, that's been safe, you know. I meet this horrible Barbara Sample woman, and she's going to do the visits. So I go to my first visit. It's for 2 hours, and this woman sits down with a piece of paper, and she's writing down everything that we say. So I say, well, do you want to come home? She says, you can't ask her that. I mean, she's just barking, you know, some schizophrenic. I find out that she did this for 25 years at this place in Billings. She was the head lady, some family support place where she tormented people, where people wanted to kill her, and she would terminate everybody's visiting rights. And when people would get upset with her and stuff, the police would always come in, and of course they were always on Barbara's side, because Barbara's the criminal. And since Billings, Montana is nothing but a police state, and they don't really give a damn about people's rights, because when you consider that the police aided and abetted a criminal in breaking the law and assisted her in coming in and taking an innocent woman that she wanted to sterilize because she doesn't have any children of her own, to say that she could never become a mother. Okay, so I made an appointment with this Woodster guy, And then I couldn't remember his name. And then I couldn't find the paper, and I couldn't find the address, and I couldn't find anything. And I'm calling because the judge wants to give her back in 10 days. Okay? And her stupid attorney, my daughter's attorney, nicely said he was the guardian ad litem, which was illegal, but Gustafuson said he was her lawyer, which that is legal. And I understand that Gustafuson is running for federal, she wants to be a federal court judge, and I hope she gets elected because this is a good lady, and she's better than anybody else that they have down in the courts. So she wants to send her back in 10 days. So my attorney, I don't know what happened, but she's going to get a hearing, and she's telling me she brings back by this piece of paper because this Terry Seifer guy, and it states that I know that Marion will never become a mother now, and I know that Marion will never have children now, and I didn't know it was against the law to have a baby if you were disabled. It's not against the law to have a baby if you have a disability. And she's perfectly capable of taking care of a child. She'd make a better mother than most people. She's wonderful. And she's a better housekeeper than I am. And when she cleans the house, she does a much better job than me. So since I lost his name and I lost the address, I found this other guy named Chesner, Bruce Chesner. And he sees me the same day. I tell him I've got 10 days, and I come in. And I don't even go in the back room. You know, I'm like sitting in the lobby talking to him. And in the front room, I guess there's a room in the back, a door that you go in. I didn't even go in there. And he makes me take some tests out there. And it's, I don't know, it's very brief, 20 or 30 questions, you know, about do we spank your kids? It's like a CPS question thing. So, you know, I mean, she's 5'4". She was 5'4", 167 pounds. She came back at 140. But she looked great, and yeah, I liked it. But if that continued, you know, it wouldn't have been a good thing. And, you know, so I said no, you know. So he says that like I'm lying about the test. What, I spanked my daughter? She's a woman. I mean, I'm 5'2". I just had weight loss surgery, you know, that I was still recovering from, you know, 140 pounds. And I show him a picture of her playing PlayStation, you know, to show him that she's intelligent, you know, that, you know, and you could see in the picture that, you know, she was concentrating on the game. You know, she's holding a remote control, and she's looking at the game, and she's playing the game. And I said, isn't she beautiful? He writes up in his report that I'm lying and faking good. Why? Just because you don't think so. Anyway, come to find out, this guy, 21-year-old son, committed suicide, killed himself. And in my personal opinion, his son was sacrificed to the Illuminati, and that's who this man is. Okay, I didn't know that till probably a year after we left, you know, when I was living in Vegas, that this was actually done by the Illuminati and some secret society that, you know, sacrifices children and seniors and takes their money. And I was not aware of that because it was beyond my imagination. You know, I just thought that she was just some wacko, you know, that they were just some wacko crazy people. And, you know, he, before I knew that he was a monster, you know, he asked me for the case. So I figured, well, he's a psychologist, you know, it's 16 pages. He's intelligent, you know, he'll read it and he'll know that she's crazy, you know, and he'll know that it's all nuts, you know, just by interviewing me, and everything will be okay. So he asked me to sign a release, you know, to get something from that Boots guy, you know, the hitman, the guy that was receiving funding from them and getting money, you know, to kind of set me up with, you know, her lawyer, Gillen, you know, so that they could get my house, which I had the title on, and, you know, everything I own, and get all our money and everything. And they started with my daughter. You know, she told me in one of the visits with Barbara Sample, we don't have Wade at this time. They don't have Wade at this time. Wade was 27 years old, 5'10". She wants a 39-year-old woman wants custody of Wade. What? He's going to become a slave too? I mean, I never heard of such a thing. So anyway, this guy turned into a nightmare. And I was calling him all weekend, and he wouldn't call me back and everything. I had to fire my attorney because of him. Okay, the judge doesn't know the real reason. It was because of Chestnut. He wrote up 3 pages. He asked me for the judge's report. He needed that. And it's the release that I signed. He called the social workers. He called Lori. He called Holly. He had all kinds of conversations with them. And it said that the judge said something about, that I could provide appropriate care for her. Appropriate care? She doesn't need appropriate care. She's an adult. I mean, there's people her age that live on the streets that are homeless. There's people in wheelchairs in this country that are homeless. There's people that stand on corners and fly signs in Montana. I mean, I never heard of such a thing. And, they kept telling me that, that the YMCA, I'd really like to know who this person is that called the YMCA, because I'd like to put this person in jail. Okay? And so anyway, I had a trust. My cousin had some property for us in Hawaii that was in his name that he was holding for us. I asked him to sell it. He sold it, and I hired this scumbag attorney. His name was Brandon Hartford. He says, I'll have her back in a week. We'll have a hearing. We'll go in. So I paid him $500, and it was taking so long for the money to come in, the title company and everything, and he's not doing anything because he didn't get his money and everything. And then I gave him the rest of the money, and he did nothing on the case. Nothing. Okay? He didn't even work for $1,000 worth of that money. I saw him about 5 times in the office for about an hour, and he did nothing on my case except text these women. And in my personal opinion, he's one of them. I'm pretty sure that Brandon Hartford is a Mason. And he basically turned on me. He just got crazy and everything. And there's a lot more to it, but it would take forever to say it. And it was a while back, and I fired him. Okay? When I fired him, I found another lawyer, and she said that she would be appointed. He calls the public defenders and says that the judge said that he couldn't leave the case because he wanted them to get my daughter. And he said that he had to stay on the case till the end of the case. But I wrote to the judge, and he finally withdrew. And I went in with this Elizabeth Hanukkah. And Brandon apparently had made a deal, because as whacked out as Brandon is, he did manage to get that Brenda Rauch. Oh, she's the lowest piece of garbage that there is. Brandon got everything thrown out of court. He did do something. He got Brenda Rauch's psychological evaluation thrown out because we couldn't use Chesner's. And hers was like, she said a whole bunch of nice things in the beginning, and he said that she was just protecting herself. And then in the end, she wrote up like as long as my arm, like some big probation, that I needed an MRI. What do I need an MRI for? She said my insurance will pay for it. My insurance wouldn't pay for it. It has to be medically necessary on Medicare. You can't just have an MRI because somebody wants to look at your brain, And, she's bragging about how she's this psychologist and she went to school for 4 years, and I need to go for counseling and just all kinds of stupid, ridiculous things. I don't remember, but it was just really long. And he said he needed to get that thrown out. So he did an in-camera view, and the judge threw out the evaluation and threw out Julia Howard's and threw out Schulke's. They threw out everything. But the DA, Brandon, made a deal that my daughter would receive a chip in her arm, the devil's chip, which Elizabeth Hanukkah couldn't change it, and the judge couldn't change it either. The judge had to do it. But the judge did it but it wasn't put in writing. They basically told me that just leave, and wherever you go, you can take it out because it's not in writing. It's not a court order. It was some birth control from Planned Parenthood that they put in her arm, and to sterilize her so that she wouldn't be able to have children for 3 years. What, against her will? That was put in her arm against her will. And it gave her seizures. And it had to be removed. She ended up in the ER when we were in Vegas because of that stupid thing. And it was that thing. And she's seizure-free now. Okay? And I mean, she's had like a few in her lifetime, and Holly acted like, she had all these seizures and stuff. And they wanted to do a test where this Erica Sears is, this wacko, that's the sport medicine doctor that we never met, that was going to do the incapacity report. Her name was in the courts, but she backed out when Knisley was no longer out of the case, and Ingrid Gustafuson sat on the seat. And where were we? This is so intense, and it was a while ago. What it is I hate when this happens. But anyway, the chip in her arm we were talking about, and then I was going to change the subject, and now I don't know what I was going to change the subject to. But anyway, I got to keep you interested. So I know that Ingrid did some good things. Oh, yeah, Ingrid terminated Holly Boyson's guardianship, even though I wasn't going to talk about that, and released her. I was asking for guardianship because I thought I needed it, but I realized that that would have been a bad thing because then we wouldn't have been able to leave the state. I had to sell my home that I was happy with and move away like we were criminals, because even after the case was closed with prejudice, we started getting phone calls from this Kathleen from Aware, and she says, well, I'm your worker, ain't I? And isn't Adult Protective Service going to say that you're not receiving services? We weren't on any probation or anything. And I don't know who the hell Brenda Rauch thinks that she is, but she's a monster. I mean, she's just a big, fat, ugly, overweight woman that was 48 years old at the time that looked like she was 70. And she has ruined and destroyed a lot of people's lives, and anybody that's ever been involved with her hates her. She doesn't let you see what she writes up on you. She sends it to the judge, and this is all done without due process. And this is the same thing that Boots does, and they receive government funding for this. And all these people are receiving all this money, and they're raping people financially. Okay, so I'm going to stop this, and that's it.